Hello and welcome to the show. It's business, branding, and blogging with yours truly, Freddie Taylor, the show where we examine the possibilities. Today we're going to talk about the real estate market and property values. I'm making a statement that property values will not rise, but will remain stagnant for the next 35 years or more. Now I know that can be a lot to take in. I know you've been hearing things dramatically different from other sources, but call it the contrarian in me, but I see things just a little bit differently. And today is those differences that I want to share with you. Now, most people have been led to believe that the last 10 plus years have been the norm for rising property values. The belief is that once we get through this bear market or recession market or depression that we are in today, once we get out of that, property values will continue to rise and escalate as they have been for the past decade. This is a fallacy. This is a fallacy. Don't get sucked into this line of thinking because it can ultimately be dangerous to your net worth. Allow me to paint you a very different picture of the reality that I see. A reality that's the sooner we swallow, the better, and the better choices that we'll be able to make about our investment decisions and our future. Everybody calm down. Everybody calm down. Allow me to take the edge off of this discussion by stating that I said the net property values will remain stagnant for the next 35 years for, drumroll, dramatic effect. Dramatic effect. I'm not jaded enough as an appraiser to think that I have the ability or capacity to predict property values that far into the future. No one has. Value is something that is derived by what the typical buyer is willing to pay for something. And this involves far too many variables than I care to explain or even think about at this particular moment. It cannot be predicted with any accuracy by anyone, but I figured that I would use the number 35 plus years to get you to watch this video, and it worked. Now, with that said, you have to hear me out. You have to hear me out here. I said the number 35 for a dramatic effect. However, I do believe that it is very possible that we will see stagnant property values for the next 35 plus years or more. The best part of my theory is I'm going to map it out step by step for you, so that you can make your own intelligent, rational decision after researching the information for yourself. But at the end of the day, it's just my opinion, and I'm very interested in hearing yours, your rebuttals, your comments, your agreements, your thoughts. All right, let's get into it. What I'm going to put up now is a graph of historical property values since 1890 to 2006. This graph was put together by a gentleman named Robert Shiller, a Yale economist, in a book that he did in 2006 called Rational Exuberance. Good read if you're interested. Let's get to the chart. Now on the chart, I just want to explain a little bit about it. So I'm going to read these first two paragraphs at the top. A history of home values. The Yale economist Robert Shiller created an index of American housing prices going back to 1890. It's based on sales prices of standard existing houses, not new construction, to track the value of housing as an investment over time. It presents housing values in consistent terms over 116 years, factoring out inflation. The 1890 benchmark is 100 on the chart. If a standard house sold in 1890 for $100,000, inflation adjusted to today's dollars, an equivalent standard house would have sold for $66,000 in 1920, 66 on the index scale, and $199,000 in 2006, 199 on the index scale, or 99% higher than 1890. Now that we have the graph up and you can kind of see the rise and the fall in the property values, let's get one more point straight. Let's get a basic understanding of something. Why do property values rise? Well, it's a basic case of supply and demand, basic economics. When more people want to buy something, prices rise. When less people want to buy something, prices decline. Basic economics. I think everyone can understand that, but it's a very important point that we have to make. Demand causes prices to rise. Okay, on the graph we have a couple of very interesting points that we have to take note of. You notice around 1910, 11, 12, 13, we have prices that are beginning to fall. Well, around this time, the Federal Reserve was created, the country entered into World War I, and you see the slide in property values on down through World War I period, and thought it was a very interesting point that around 29 to 32, property values actually increased during this period of the Great Depression, which was something that was astonished to me. I didn't know that at the time. And then we have this boom around World War II where property values escalate. Now, there's a very simple reason for this. I like to quickly explain it. But in going into World War II, we had massive production in the U.S. business sector that was accompanying and helping out the war effort. Women went into the workforce at massive numbers, and the soldiers went to war. When the soldiers came home, a lot of programs were created. The VA loan was created, two-family households. There was a rising increase for need in housing. Property values boomed. Again, when there's an increase in demand, there is an increase in prices. There was a very big increase in property demand after World War II, and property values spiked. Now you see everything remains level for a while. Then in the 80s, we have two quick booms in the 80s, which according to Schiller, the two gains during this decade were followed by returns to levels of consistency since the late 50s. Now, one thing that's very important to note here is historically in the United States, 20 to 25% of the population have been home buyers or have been eligible to purchase homes. This means that 20 to 25% has the means, the credit score, and the down payment in order to be a homeowner. This has been the historical norm in the area. Remember, they had to bring that 20% down, which is a very big factor to hurdle for a lot of individuals. So, okay, historically in the United States, 20 to 25% of the population have been home buyers. And this number has remained consistent over a long period of time, 30, 40 years even. This 20 to 25% of the population means that they have the down payment money available and the credit score of needed and the desire to purchase a home. So that consisted of the demand for housing value, 20 to 25% of the population. So the question quickly becomes, what happened in 1997?